So tell us about this year's Bilderberg conference.
Well, as always, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed in the Bilderbergers lately because we've infiltrated them so long time ago that now, I would think that, they would have taken certain precautions and measures, especially coming, to my part of the world. But obviously, or they don't care, or they simply become careless, or too old, or whatever the story is. But, a few days ago, I received from my sources a Bilderberg meeting agenda items, which I very much like to share with you listeners.
Please do.
Okay, well, number one on the agenda is, will the euro survive, ? Needless to say, they're very concerned about the euro. It's interesting that Greece is not the issue. It's the euro survival an issue. And again, what they don't seem to understand, and what I have been pushing in Spain in numerous interviews I've been doing over the past few weeks, is trying to convince the politicians and the people that, the solution is for us, Spaniards, and the Greek and the Portuguese and the Italians, basically leave Europe, because again, it's not about, keeping the euro as a currency. It's about being a nation-state republic. It's about working together, going back, to being the fatherland of nations, the Charles de Gaulle concept, which has nothing to do with the Bilderbergers and the European Union trying to put together a monetary union, which simply doesn't work. Number two is developments in Europe, Europe's exit strategy, ... on hold, ? Now, a brief explanation. The markets are also starting to recognize that the monetary policy impact that the struggling Eurozone constituents will have on the European Central Bank's ability to reverse ultra-easy money conditions. Now, with aggressive austerity plans facing Greece, Spain, Portugal, and Ireland, a risk of a double-dip recession for the Eurozone rises dramatically, just as I accurately predicted immediately following Bilderberg 2009 in Greece, on your show, James, if you remember.
I remember it very well, certainly, yes.
Well, and here we go, Number three, do we have the institutions to deal with the world economy? So needless to say, they are concerned whether they have enough power internationally to deal with the current crisis. Number four, Greece, lessons and forward-looking strategies. Very interesting. It's not number 1 point on the agenda. It's number 4. Number 5, NATO and Afghanistan, the practical agenda for the alliance. Again, NATO and Afghanistan, there's only one thing in Afghanistan worth anything at all, that's drugs. And needless to say, the NATO alliance is there making sure that the drugs make their way safely into Wall Street, because again, the drugs are washed through Wall Street. That's a $700 billion a year cash business. If you eradicate drugs or if you legalize them, the entire world economy will collapse onto itself. So needless to say, a very interesting key point on the Bilderberger agenda. And again, interesting also to keep in mind that all the royal houses, of course, are represented at the Bilderberg conferences, and the British Crown has been into the drug trade, going back to the British East India Company and China. So needless to say, they are very familiar with drugs and making money from drugs. Number 6, Iran and Russia, economic and financial threats to the alliance. Again, Iran is a diversion. The key element of the entire thing is Russia. The United States is building 13 super secret bases in Afghanistan, all of them bigger than the rest of the bases anywhere in the world. Again, Iran is a diversion. It's Russia that they're after. If there's going to be a preemptive attack, Russia is obviously from the south. Is going to get hit very, very hard, and all of these 13 bases are going to house a very important contingent of NATO soldiers. Number 7, the consequences of war against terrorism. Number 8, the influence of domestic issues on American foreign policy. Number 9, the outlook for Japan's economy. Very interesting, knowing that you live in Japan. I'll certainly get back to you, with what they said about that. And number 10, the future of U.S. dollar, alternative scenarios. And I got, from our sources in Bilderberg, clarification on that issue. Bilderberg is basically, as I said on your show last year, is positioning itself to destroy the U.S. dollar, and according to my source in Bilderberg, who stated candidly that, and I quote, the Obama government may not be in the position to do anything about it. Now again, as I said a long time ago, if the United States dollar plunged, the collapse of the fictitious mass of outstanding dollar-denominated internal credit brought about by either devaluation or a hyperinflation of what are nominally U.S. dollar-denominated obligations would in itself prompt the sudden collapse of the entire world physical economy into a generation-long global new dark age of our planet as a whole. Now I'm just going to say it one more time. if ratified, the Bilderberg plan would result in a virtually certain destruction of the United States. We talked about this, you and I, when I was in Thailand, right, during the G20 meeting in November when they tried to pull that stunt off, except that the Russians and the Chinese told them to, pound sand. And, this has been the treasonous intent of this Bilderberg group since its first meeting back in 1954. Again, it's important to understand, if listeners are wondering why the American delegates are not doing anything about it, is that they're part of the plan. They're treacherous, and treasonous folks. They don't represent us, the people, and they certainly don't represent our governments. They work for a cabal known as the Bilderbergers, who also have, very powerful interests above them, but basically, again, these secret private organizations, their idea is to destroy the world economy, and that's what we're seeing right now. The entire collapse, monetary, systemic collapse witnessing right now is part of a long-range plan, to usher in this age of one world company limited.
Absolutely right, and absolutely fascinating that you've done it once again. You've cracked the nut, and you've gotten the inside information. So thank you so much for sharing that again with my listeners. And just as we're wrapping up here, I'd like to contemplate the possibility that the increased scrutiny of Bilderberg over recent years has actually caused Bilderberg as a talking shop to perhaps decrease in importance, because we know that the Bilderberg Steering Committee has always been the more important core nucleus of the group, where the real decisions are really made. And is it possible that now that it's coming in the light of scrutiny, the shadow masters are just retreating to an even further level of secrecy that we're unable to penetrate?
Well, the steering committee has always been a tough nut to crack, and there's such a small group of insiders that I've never had any sources. Obviously, we're talking about a group of 6 people, and but we have had amazing success with people who are very close to the steering committee. It's true what you're saying that they're probably going to retreat even further to a cocoon, but it's also true that the meeting themselves. To most people, especially attendees who don't understand that there's a very concrete structure behind these meetings, historical structures, who just, come once and see a chance, to talk to David Rockefeller or rub shoulders with Henry Kissinger as an opportunity of a lifetime. So, the real decisions, for example, the drug trade in Afghanistan is not going to be discussed at an open meeting. It's going to be discussed behind closed doors by a much smaller group of people, and the real decisions are made, as you said, the steering committee. And needless to say, what's today called the Bilderberg Group, they're actually founded by, the syndicalist movement of empires, which is Marxist esoteric, cult, and the syndicalists, the Marxists, they created, the syndicalism as a kind of a counterattack against the principles upon which the United States as a nation was built. So, it's very, very possible that they're going to retreat even further. But again, they still, need a substantial group of people, meaning 100, 120 people, to make some of these decisions, at least on a, superficial level. So as long as they keep doing this, we'll always have inside track into what they're talking about, unless they decide to meet underground, hopefully in hell, and then in which case, we just may not get any access to what they're talking about. But up to now, we've certainly had no trouble whatsoever infiltrating them as a group.
Well, that is excellent, and it is a sign that we are having such an effect now, and you are having such an effect on a personal level, so we are definitely looking forward to your speech before European Parliament next week, and wish you all the best with that. So
again, I'll track it back. I certainly report back to you on what was said and who said what to whom, and how these people feel about what we're doing.